I'm Marcos, I'm the CEO of Woop Environmental. I'm going to teach you today how to price out services. So for the last 3 years, I've been helping contractors profit more, and proper pricing is honestly one of the best ways to do that. A tremendous amount of my time goes towards perfecting my clients' pricing. So by the end of this video, you should have a really good idea of how to price out your services, and it won't feel like a guessing game where you're just kind of putting out a number. You're going to know where to price, and you're going to know why you're priced there, more importantly. So I'm going to start out with some fundamentals that are essentials to have. If you don't have those, it doesn't matter what else we do. And then I'm going to give you 2 strategies that we like to really use with our clients to really just maximize the price that we can sell at and get more profits at the end of the day. So let's get started with the fundamentals. So 2 fundamentals that we're going to cover. What do we put on the invoices, and what do we charge people for? And then secondly, margins. How much should we actually profit on each client? So that's a huge thing that pricing determines. Wherever you set your price kind of determines where you can profit, or at least puts boundaries on where you can profit. So what do we charge for? So number one thing, if you have a set hourly cost or you have an hourly rate, this is what you need to put. You need to put that first. Materials. If you have any materials, put them in. So for contractors, this is great. That's how you do it. Hourly rate, materials, and then finally add-ons. So if there's any sort of add-on that you can add to your service, and we'll get into add-ons a little bit later. If there's anything extra to the service, it gets put as a separate line item on it. Now, if you don't have a set hourly rate, just put one price for everything plus the add-ons. The key is just keep invoices and keep what you charge for as simple as possible. We don't want to separate it out into a million things, because then that's when people start going, ooh, yeah, but that price seems too high. You just give, hey, look, this is our price for this, this, and that, and that's it. The simpler it is, the better. It's not fun to start arguing on every little piece of your service. Now, what are some good margins? For services, usually above 60%. It just depends on what your service is and who you're servicing. That, maybe it can be a little bit different. Sometimes 40 might be okay. Sometimes above 80 is the only acceptable metric. But typically anything above 50% is going to be acceptable. 60 plus, you're going to be great. You're going to be good to go. My recommendation, don't go under 50. It's just not a fun game to play. You're just broke most of the time. And I feel like being broke is not that fun. So if you want to not be broke, I'd say that just stay over 50. You really have to do a lot of financial gymnastics to keep a business profitable when you're under 50% gross profit margin. Take the cost of the services and divide it by 0.4. That way you get 60% margin. Now, let's get into the actual strategies. So the first one we're going to cover is tiered pricing. So here's how you do it. You're going to have 3 tiers for pricing. You're going to have a low, you're going to have a medium, and you're going to have a high tier. So this helps you price higher overall, but it also increases conversion rates, which lowers CAC. So you're able to help more people out at different budgets while still keeping the same profit margins. So you help more people without losing anything yourself, which means more money in your wallet. It also makes it really easy to overcome price objections, because if someone goes, oh, that's too expensive, you just move them down to the low tier. And if they don't want the low tier, then you go, well, if you want this stuff, then you pay the medium tier. And I think tiered pricing is almost always a good idea, because now the price they're comparing is you to you and not you to a competitor. We're going to start off with the medium tier, because this should be the same service that you already have. We just want to make sure that our margins are correct. So if you cover the fundamentals from the pricing initially, that's how your medium tier should look like. So around 60 to 70% of people are going to choose this medium tier. However, we add about 30% more conversions overall. So we get more customers in. So what do we do on the low tier though? All right, on low tier, just take out everything that sucks. Just take it out. Seriously, just you take your middle tier and you take out anything that just doesn't make sense to put in. Anything that's not absolutely necessary, just take it out, okay? And then find other things you can remove that keep the cost down for you. What we're essentially doing is just making this less valuable overall, objectively, it just costs less money to do. If we sell cutting apples, right? So I will cut apples for you. And I do my middle tier is, hey, I will cut 3 apples for you, right? Well, my low tier can be, I will cut 1 apple for you. That is objectively less valuable, and therefore I will charge you less. Now, something you can do is, instead of saying, hey, I will cut 1 apple now instead of 3, and so I'll charge you a third of what I would have, you go, well, I'm going to only cut 1 apple for you, but I'm going to charge you half of what I usually would do. So this way, the middle tier seems more valuable. So the rate at which you drop the price and the rate at which you drop features doesn't have to be the same. We can drop the price slower than we drop the feature. You don't have to do it. You can make them completely proportional. The key with the low tier is just offer less for less. And there you go. Now, with the high tier, we're doing the opposite of the low tier. We're just going to add as much as we can into it. Anything that can increase value, right? So if we were saying like, hey, look, I'll cut 3 apples for you. Now we're cutting 5 apples for you. And guess what? I'm going to cut them into, an even better shape that's going to make the taste even better. And I'm going to like select the best apples for you. So I'm not just going to grab a random one. That's how we do the high tier. And now we can bump up the margins a little bit more. The customers that will pay a premium tend to be the least price sensitive customers. All right. Now, similar to the low tier, we can affect the rate at which we add features and raise the price, right? So instead of dropping and dropping, here's raising and raising. So we can raise the price faster than we raise the features. And this makes that middle tier again look even more valuable. Let's give an example of how it can be priced. So we have our medium tier is $10, I cut 3 apples for you, right? Our low tier is $5, I cut 1 apple for you. And our high tier can be $20 and I'm gonna cut 5 apples for you. So now it looks much more attractive to just go for that medium tier. That's the thing we wanna do with the high tier is we just wanna make it the best thing possible, but also really, really, really profitable for us. Like we can push to go even further on the profits here. All right, moving on to the next thing. And it's, should we price the lowest? Should we be in the middle of everybody? Or should we be the highest? The thing is, if you're in the middle or if you're planning on being in the middle, get the fuck out of the middle. Seriously, sorry for the aggression, but you need to get the fuck out of the middle. Do you walk in the middle of the street? No, you won't, because you get hit by a car side and you walk on that side. Yes, it takes less time to cross from one side to the other if you're already in the middle of the street, right? You're halfway there. Cool, it takes less time to cross. But you're dodging cars all the time and you won't get killed by a car if you're staying on the sidewalk. So that's the thing. You need to choose a side. Pricing is the exact same. Being the lowest or the highest have significant advantages. Let's cover what being the lowest is like. You will get customers super easily. The thing is, you have to get a lot of customers. So you win on sheer volume when it comes to pricing low. That's a good thing about being the low guy. Now, you do struggle to profit on each individual client, but it's okay because you can bring in much more clients. So the key here is you maintain really high volumes at high efficiency. That's the hard part, is you have to do that. But the easy part is that bringing in lots of people is easy because you're the lowest price. Now, when you're the highest, you profit a ridiculous amount on each individual customer. So it doesn't matter how much it costs you to get a customer in. It doesn't matter how much staff costs you, because just one customer is a ridiculous amount of profit. So you can afford anything. Getting customers is harder, but you have so many more resources to overcome that challenge. So it doesn't matter. Whereas if we're the lowest person, we don't have resources to do anything. So everything has to be super efficient. Here, it doesn't matter. You have money coming out of every part of the business, so it doesn't matter. You're going to be fine. You win because the rate of growth is so much higher than everyone else's, because you can just invest back so much more money than them, and you can just outspend everyone on talent, on CAC, on anything you want. It's harder to get sales. It's harder to get in customers, but you can pay the best salespeople. You can pay the best marketers. You can have the most expensive campaigns. Now, when you're in the middle, we don't have the profit of every individual customer that the highest one does, which means we can't afford everything that they can, but then we're also not the lowest price. So we don't just automatically get clients by that. So sales are really hard to get. We have to be really efficient because we don't have the amount of profits that the top guy gets. The thing is, we need a lot of volume, but we don't have a good way to get a lot of volume because we don't have a ton of money to just dump into marketing and sales. And we don't have the cheapest price, which means people just come to us and we don't have to try to sell. You're always going to be underbidded by the lowest guy, and the highest guy always has more resources than you do. So what do you get out of that? You get nothing. So please, with pricing, stay out of the middle. Fair pricing is what people say yes to. If people say yes to that person, it's fair. Okay? Somebody else might say no. To that person, it's unfair. There's no such thing as an objectively fair price. A fair price is just in between each transaction. It's at what amount do you agree? That is the fair price for that person. One person, the fair price for something might be $10. The other person might be $100,000. The market will tell you, if you make no money at the end of the month, it's not a fair price. If you make no money at the end of the month, but you had a lot of sales, it's also not a fair price. The fair price is where those 2 points meet, where you have the most amount of customers for the most amount of profit in between them. And let me tell you, that is not by being priced in the middle of everybody else, okay? It is on both extremes. All right. So in summary, what we want to do with pricing is we want to have simple invoices. We want to price at around 60% gross profit margins, which means we take our cost of service and we divide it by 0.4 to get 60. Then we're going to tier out our pricing, the low, the medium, the high, and then we're going to choose if we're going to be the highest price in the market or we're going to be the lowest price in the market. We're never going to be the middle. Well, that's everything for this video. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you on the next one.